The Claremont Grounds, one of the many historical heritage sites in England, and where I have attended school for the last 11 years. Naturally, being somewhere that long kindles an interest in the history. How did that mansion come about? What's the story behind my sixth form centre? And why aren't the landscape gardens part of the grounds? How did they become owned by the National Trust? I'm Ben Murray, a Claremont sixth form student, and this is my look into the history of what is now my school. It started with Sir John Vanbrugh, who built the first Claremont House in 1708, and between then and 1727 he also built the walled garden, the stables, and maybe even the White Cottage. Vanbrugh was an English playwright and architect. He designed the initial landscape garden with William Kent, Charles Bridgman, and John Rock. Little known fact about Claremont, this wall here used to go all the way around the estate, and currently I'm standing at the back of the mansion. It's right over there. This extends all the way down to the DT block, and to be perfectly honest, I don't know how far this way goes, but I'm going to follow it and see what we get. As it turned out, it only went about 20 metres into the forest, meaning that a wall that used to go around the entire estate now only has about 200 metres left of it. Having bought the house from Vanbrugh in 1714, it was Pelham Halls who committed Vanbrugh to add the 2 extra wings on either side of the first house and build the Belvedere Tower. The grounds were modified between around 1769 and 1774. Behind me is the amphitheatre and the lake, which are the main parts of the landscape gardens. They were modified between 1769 and 1774 by Capability Brown, who also had the first house knocked down because it was too dark and damp, and he had the current mansion built in place of it. So I'm walking up the amphitheatre right now. I've been here before for the Claremont 2006 community play, which was actually a play about the history of Claremont. We were sitting around these rooms here while the actors came out and started acting by the lakeside over there. The actors invited us to move up closer to the school during the interval, so we walked up to the back of the mansion, and that's where the second half of the play commenced. The Belvedere was built as a prospect house by Pelham Halls, who would later become the Duke of Newcastle. He would take them up and give them beverages and play popular dice games such as Hazard, while enjoying the view of the Surrey hills. While he was Prime Minister, he would keep King George II entertained in this way. Clive of India also commissioned a few changes to the already existing sites, but he had more interesting stories to tell than that. He was depressed. He had a history of depression and decided he could shake this from his system. This is a great bath that he had built, and the only reference to it that I've ever seen or come across was in the 2006 Claremont community play The Princess, the Palace and the Ice Cold Bath. He had his bath, which is the size of a very small swimming pool, filled with freezing water from the ice caves, jumped into it to try and cure himself. As he killed himself in 1774, it obviously didn't work. Eventually, Claremont had enough of being an estate, and in 1931 became a school for girls. However, in the Second World War, the school was evacuated to Wales, and the estate was left to the Hawker Aircraft Company. After the war, the schools returned, and in 1978 joined with Fancourt School from Chertsey to form the current Claremont Fancourt School. As for the National Trust, they gained 50 acres from the Claremont estate in 1949, and in 1975, with the grant from the Slater Foundation, it set about restoring the 18th century landscape garden. And that is essentially the history of Claremont, 3 centuries compressed into this 5-minute documentary. However, the story doesn't end here. This is Ben Murray, signing off.